Welcome to the Mycotoxin Prediction forecast brought to you by Biomin, the world leader in mycotoxin management. This week we will look into the predicted risk for mycotoxin contaminations in European winter wheat. The dominant mycotoxins on wheat and other small grain cereals are deoxynivalenol and zearalenone, produced by Fusarium graminearum or culmorum. Both overwintering crop debris on the field, and spores reach the flowering wheat ear via splashwater, wind and rain dispersal. Affected spikelets are bleached and developing kernels are shriveled and wilted. Wet weather during Anthesis is critical for the successful onset of Fusarium head blight and thus relates to higher levels of mycotoxins in the harvest. Wheat is grown practically everywhere in Europe. Plants start flowering as early as April in the south, with the last crop starting Anthesis by end of June in the north. Anthesis is earliest in Sicily, parts of Andalusia and Sardinia, and progresses further within the next 2 weeks to southern and coastal regions of the Iberian Peninsula, Italy, to the south of France and coastal regions along the eastern Mediterranean Sea. In late March, flowering wheat in Spain has not seen much rain, with only few days accumulating more than 2 hours of precipitation per day. And also the Italian growing regions north of Rome and coastal regions of Croatia received little to no rain in this interval. More precipitation hit growing regions in Sardinia and even more in Sicily and Greece, with up to 9 days of rain in this period. Compared to last year, this March was substantially drier, with up to 9 days less rain in Spain. But not only Spain, all other regions received up to 4 days less rain in this year. Following a dry March, the first half of this year's April has become wetter, with up to 5 days of rain in general for Italy, the Grecian coast and inland Spain. Sicily and Greece have gotten drier. More rain is predicted for the last 2 weeks of April, with 8, 9 or more rainy days throughout the Mediterranean. Compared to 2020, this April is overall much wetter, presenting a higher mycotoxin risk for flowering crops in this period. The Biomin Mycotoxin Prediction tool uses 15 factors that incorporate global hourly weather data and the effect these factors have on the plant, fungi and mycotoxin production. Shown here are risk levels as the percentage likelihood that a crop will be over a certain threshold for the selected mycotoxin. For deoxynivalenol, higher risks are predicted for central and southern regions, in particular for the south, and lower levels in eastern and northern countries. As in most of these regions, winter wheat has not developed far, the current predictions are still subject to change. Regional risks are the weighted average from growing areas, but pronounced differences exist for predictions on the local level. In wheat growing regions that have reached or are about to reach Anthesis, reduced risk for deoxynivalenol is predicted for mainland Spain. Elevated risk is predicted for coastal regions of Spain and up to the Mediterranean coast of France. Most of Sardinia and several regions in Italy are exposed to higher risk, and generally average to lower risk is predicted for the Croatian coastline. Risk for zearalenone is in general lower and mostly coincides with the prevalence of deoxynivalenol. The relative highest risk is predicted for northern countries. Again, in the selected southern regions, predicted risks may vary between areas where some coastal regions, in particular in the south of France and Italy, are exposed to higher risk. Keep tuned in for our European mycotoxin prediction and occurrence updates as the wheat growing year unfolds.